And I turned around to talk to the security guard and be like, do you want to check my bag or something? And the guy was on his phone.
Who stops when it beeps anyway? Like, good on you, Pam. You're a real
the
one.
lady behind me was like, just keep going, just keep going. And then I thought to myself, like, she's probably stealing stuff.
Yeah,
and she set it off.
Welcome to Millennial, the home of pretend adulting and real talk with your pals. I'm Andrew, the second letter.
I'm Laura, the last letter.
And I'm Pam, the first letter.
This is Dora the Explorer, little Dora right up front. Laura, I'm wondering, did you go to your secret third space this weekend?
Good
You were
question.
teasing something that was apparently so sacred you couldn't share it with the audience.
That's true, and I did go. I'm still not going to share it because I'm a gatekeeping bitch.
Can you at least give us a hint?
I was going to say, not even with Andrew and I.
It lifts my spirits. Maybe I'll tell y'all. I'll tell y'all.
She's scared that Andrew and I are going to road trip and show up.
Yeah, no, what if I'm there and you show up?
She's going to be like, I'm trying to get away from our third
Trying
space.
to get away from
I know,
us.
I'm like,
why are you here?
let me have my life.
Yeah, that's what this is about. This third space is about escaping us. And now if she reveals it,
yeah,
can you just give us the theme? Just like a mild clue. I'm just trying to help the listeners find a third space.
Yeah, it lifts my spirits. That's the clue.
She's going to church.
Oh, you got me. Surprise, everybody. I'm very devout
That would be
now.
a surprise. Church or Publix? Which is it? We're whittling down the options here.
I mean, is there a difference?
Oh
That's
my
right.
God.
Both lift
When
the
I walk into
spirit.
Publix, I also feel like I'm in church. So
I have an idea. I think you don't want to say it for other reasons, so I won't say it either. Thinking of bringing you to another level, maybe metaphorically.
oh no, it has nothing to do with that.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Believe
wow.
it or not. No,
Maybe it is a church.
maybe it is.
Maybe you're into these like mega churches and you don't want to come clean about that because that'd be super embarrassing for you.
I mean, it would definitely ruin my brand. That's for sure. Because I have a brand, right?
Yeah.
Right. It's dark and edgy.
We're really exposing Laura today because I was like, when she hopped on, I was like, oh, Laura, what's that t-shirt? And you were like, I don't want to talk about it.
I know. I'm ashamed. I'm not. It's just, it's not worth talking about.
It's okay. We have two mysteries we can work through now over the course of
man.
this show.
I'm so mysterious.
You are.
You can start calling me Mysterio. That can be my new show name.
Okay. Speaking of shirts, we're going to have an exciting reveal for patrons within the next couple of months, I think, concerning this year's physical gift. Hint, hint. But we'll leave that aside for now. Speaking of Patreon benefits, though, we released a new installment of the variety show on our Patreon. And this month, Jeopardy is putting together a new show for Amazon called Pop Culture Jeopardy. And listeners heard this news and said, hey, Pam, Andrew, Laura, you should take the test together because they'll be doing teams of 3. So we did, and that's what you'll find in this week's installment of the variety show. Do we have what it takes to be on Pop Culture Jeopardy? The results might surprise you.
And we also just wanted to remind everyone of our new pop culture podcast we just launched, What the Hype. You can find new episodes of What the Hype on the MuggleCast feed every Friday, but we are also putting up extra content on our YouTube. As a matter of fact, this weekend, myself and Pam got together to record a reaction to the final few episodes of season 3 of Bridgerton coming out, and we got to talk about all the spice and then some of the spice that people are feeling about changes that got made from the books. Also, myself, Andrew, and Eric got together to record our reaction to the first 3 episodes of season 4 of The Boys on Amazon Prime. And we're going to be looking at having reaction videos for the remaining episodes of The Boys this season. So you can check those out. So that means it's not only extra content on the MuggleCast feed from our new show, but you can also find some really cool stuff on YouTube.
Yeah, full video
Thanks
episodes.
for checking us out.
Thanks, everybody, for your early support. We really appreciate it. It's been really nice reading the feedback, too. So I wanted to talk this week about inflation and some good news for once. Prices are actually coming down at many retailers and fast food restaurants that we frequent, and it's very refreshing to see. Of course, inflation has been a big issue in recent years, and I know on this show and elsewhere, there's been discussion on when prices would be coming down, and I think a lot of those predictions didn't end up coming true. It's a hard thing to predict, but finally, consumers seem to be objecting to these recent price increases to the point where retailers are feeling it on their bottom lines, and now they got to do something to get us back into their establishments. In recent weeks, and it seems like it's been like a domino effect, some companies have announced that prices are coming down, and really it just revealed that they never had to raise prices to begin with, but tried because they're blood-sucking corporate monsters. So let's start with Target. Target said recently it would cut the prices of 5,000 items, including diapers and pet food, and they also cited some specific examples. Huggies baby wipes were $1.19, now they're going to be 99 cents. Or Thomas's plain bagels, they were $4.19, now they're going to be $3.79. Or Good and Gather, that's the Target brand, unsalted butter. It was $3.99, now it's $3.79. So in a lot of these cases, they're coming down like 20, 30 cents. And the corporate jargon in this press release just made me want to vomit. Rick Gomez, Executive VP and Chief Food Essentials and Beauty Officer at Target. We know consumers are feeling pressured to make the most of their budget, and Target is here to help. I'm like, oh, after you squeezed our budget. Thanks, asshole.
Hey, don't forget, Target refers to their customers as guests, okay?
Oh,
They're
I'm
just
so
like
sorry.
a cut above.
Above how Walmart describes their customers.
Exactly. No, and they will correct the shit out of you, by the way. I worked in Target in high school. I think that's well documented. And they'll beat that shit into your head. It got to the point where when I started working in Apple retail, I had to break the habit of referring to customers as guests because it was so deeply ingrained in my brain. Yeah.
Target had been feeling the squeeze. They reported a 3.1% drop in net sales from a year ago and a 3.7% quarterly dip in comparable sales, marking its fourth consecutive quarter of declines. Oopsies. Now, I mentioned fast food. Burger King, McDonald's, and Wendy's are lowering prices after resistance from consumers. But they actually should have seen it coming because one study had actually found that fast food price hikes have actually outpaced inflation in recent years. So they were really pressing their luck. So what are they doing now? Wendy's rolled out a $3 budget-friendly breakfast meal, and McDonald's is planning a $5 combo meal in June. But don't get too excited, everybody, because both offerings are for a limited time, so they'll continue fucking you before long. Meanwhile, Burger King launched a $5 value meal in May, and that one will be available for several months.
Wow, several months.
Yeah.
Speaking of fast food, did you hear that In-N-Out is also raising prices in certain regions?
No way.
Yes.
Yeah. To be fair, they haven't raised them very much, and at least the quality is still good, and they're not like shrinkflating anybody, but that is still a pretty big deal. And they're basically blaming it on minimum wage increases. They're like, we don't have enough money, so we need to charge you all more.
Yeah, specifically in California.
Yeah.
I did notice, though, In-N-Out prices go up a little bit last year because I order the same thing almost every Sunday, and I know they got the order right when
That's why I was going to ask you.
Yeah, and then I noticed it went up like 40 cents. I think people in California are feeling especially heartbroken because now the prices for like a number one meal or a number two meal, it passed the $10 threshold.
Mark, yeah.
So now it's double digits, which is a
used
little
to be
depressing.
Like $8-9 for the number one without any upgrades like a milkshake or an animal fry.
Still, compared to McDonald's, Burger King, Five Guys.
I know.
Did I bring this up on the show a few months ago? We went to Five Guys for the first time in a while.
It's expensive.
It was so expensive.
It's like $20 because everything's a la carte. I went there a few months ago with a friend of mine, and I hadn't been since I think I was living in New York. And it was still like more expensive than some other fast food, but like not too bad. I think it was like maybe $12. This time I went, it was like $20, and we didn't even get anything crazy.
I was so upset. I had I had so much appreciation for In-N-Out in that moment. I was like, I cannot believe how spoiled I am to have access to In-N-Out, which is cheaper than Five Guys and these other places too. McDonald's, Burger King.
Yeah.
A single cheeseburger at Five Guys. Oh, and this was September 2022. $10.38 in Vegas. A single cheeseburger, $10.38. So yeah, to get a full meal, that's going to run you up to $20 or so.
That's wild.
For one person.
And see, at least with Five Guys, I mean, I think they're still way overpriced, but I haven't eaten there in a while. But from what I remember, their burgers are actually pretty substantial.
They are. The cheeseburger is a double. That one I just quoted.
And I mean, I remember in college, we would go there if we were feeling a little fancy on the fast food side of things, because even then, and that's been well over a decade ago, which is weird, we wouldn't go there all the time because it was more expensive than regular fast food places.
To that point, I was just reminded of by a college friend of mine that it used to be a running joke with us that we would have to try really hard to spend $20 at McDonald's, you know, like after you're done clubbing or going to the bars. And it's like a car full of people. And it was like the funniest thing that we would all order food, and like not just a small amount of food, quite a bit of food. And it would always come out to like $19.20. It's like, damn, you just can't get over that $20 mark.
We did the same with Taco Bell.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
$20 doesn't go anywhere.
I wonder if Taco Bell is lowering their prices too, because that one I've been really feeling.
And Taco Bell's known for being cheap. Like, I think I would be like heartbroken if I couldn't eat a feast at Del Taco for like $5 still.
Yeah.
Man.
I haven't eaten there in a while. Maybe I need to switch loyalty.
We don't have them over here where I would go.
Breaks my heart about Del Taco. And I don't know if this is the same everywhere, but Del Taco used to have Impossible meat on their menu, and they ditched it. So now, like, I can't really get anything there except like fries and dessert anymore. And I love their burritos and their tacos so much. But
which one was the one that used to do the 555? That was Domino's. We used to do that too if we were like studying late at night. It's like the 5 pizzas for $5. Do you guys remember that?
It's making me hungry now.
I do remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, when you're young and broke, holy shit, like you can go get a 12-pack of cheap beer.
Yeah.
And the 5x5 and it's, have a good night.
Where do the young people eat for cheap now?
Where do young people eat for cheap?
Is anything actually cheap like that anymore? That's what I want to know.
That's why I'm asking. If you're a young person and you listen, just let us know.
What's your secret?
Let us know.
Yeah.
They're going to be like ramen.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, of course, speaking of the $5 footlong is long gone from Subway. However, I'm a sucker for Subway, and once a week, I treat myself to a turkey sandwich, footlong from Subway. Turkey, cheese, lettuce, spinach, mayo, add avocado. And they do have a decent coupon that I always use. FL699. That's a footlong for $6.99. No, it's not a $5 footlong anymore, but it saves me about $2.75, and that's enough to make the added avocado free.
Sometimes they do the buy one get one though. Like my friends and I've definitely done that. If we're gonna go on like a longer hike and we want to eat when we get up to the top of the hill or whatever, you know.
Yeah. Like I did that time I opened my Subway sandwich at the top of the hill and didn't have turkey.
I'm so sorry I brought up bad memories. Yeah.
People could hear me at the bottom of the mountain when I screamed, no.
I actually learned one time that those coupons don't always work at every location. I thought that they were just like a free for all, and we happened to be like the closest Subway happened to be not accepting that coupon, so we drove out of our way to go to the other Subway because it's the principle of the matter.
Because they're franchised. I think that's why the coupons don't work everywhere. This comment from Liza is cracking me up. I just love the joy you get out of food, Andrew. I have nothing to live for other than food. This is what I live for.
You're social now.
Yeah. What are you talking about?
And I eat good food with them. But during the week, like if I didn't have my weekends where I pig out on In-N-Out and pizza, I'd have nothing to live for.
I hope none of your new friends hear this.
I'm wondering how long your weekends last, because now we know you go every Sunday to In-N-Out, and then you go one day a week to Subway, and now there's like 1 day a week pizza.
Andrew's exciting life. In-N-Out, Subway, and Domino's Pizza once a week.
It has to be Domino's.
Yeah.
Is that why you extended your lifespan? Because you were like, I want to take advantage of as much Subway
I started eating fresh.
as possible. Yeah.
Well, wasn't that a whole thing with Jared too?
Yeah.
In the 90s.
Yeah, he lost like hundreds of pounds,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. He did some other stuff too.
Yes, he ended up being a pedophile, so...
Yeah. I mean, most things from our childhood are ruined at this point anyway, so why not?
So, speaking of businesses lowering their prices, Amazon Fresh announced that it will slash the cost of 4,000 weekly rotating grocery products by up to 30%. Aldi and Kroger have also said they're lowering grocery prices. And I saw a comment in the Discord. Roshni said that Wegmans has been having commercials saying they were lowering prices too. It's so funny how this is like a marketing tactic now. It's like, hey guys, come back to us. Our prices aren't as horrible as you remember from a year ago.
Yeah. Well, they want to get you addicted again, right? It's the same model we see with, any of these other service apps that we've talked about over the years. Like, remember when Uber used to be cheap? Then they got people conditioned to it and used to it, and to the point where like the convenience is not something we're willing to give up anymore. So it doesn't matter that they're hiking their prices.
I'm embarrassed to tell you all how much I had to spend on Uber the last time I took it.
How much?
It was a lot.
And how far?
Maybe like 20 miles at the most.
Okay. It was a lot. So was it over $100?
Yeah.
Wow.
Because of surge pricing, but we had to take it.
That's it right there. You get in a pinch, you need it.
Yeah, and I still tipped because, it's not that person's fault. And I don't know, I probably shouldn't have tipped. But then what if I need to take Uber again?
Oh, as a former Uber driver, you need to tip me in my 20-mile ride.
But I definitely didn't. I mean, like, I'm not going to lie to you all. I definitely didn't tip the what is it, like the 20% or whatever. Because that would have been so much money.
Yeah. No, that's excessive.
Yeah.
Did you try looking at Lyft to see if it was any cheaper?
It was more.
Wow. What the hell was going on in the area you were in? Were you leaving a concert or something?
No, I wasn't. But it was like they decided it was peak hours surge pricing. And also the like we were trying to leave a little bit, like 30 minutes before. And it did not register to me why we kept getting like confirmed and then canceled on. It's because those suckers were waiting for surge pricing to start.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's funny you bring that up because a couple months ago, I was leaving a Springsteen concert in LA and I thought, I'll be smart and call the Lyft before the concert ends to beat the surge pricing. Well, I do that. I get connected to a ride. I'm outside. I'm ready to go. This guy cancels on me. I'm like, God damn it. He must have realized a concert was getting out. He can cancel and get a much better price.
Yeah.
Within seconds.
He was just going around the block to pick up somebody else.
And you know what I did? I ran blocks to get away from the arena. Ran blocks to get away from I'm not joking. I hadn't run like that in my life. And I got to a 7-Eleven and I called an Uber again and I got a dirt cheap price for the rest of the way. I was like, yes, worth it for this near heart attack. So I've noticed recently going into my local grocery stores, they're trying to push their apps more, saying if you scan this coupon code in store, you can get access to the app where there's a digital coupon and you can save extra money. And I think they're doing this to try to get you hooked into their notifications and their mailing lists. But this is also what the fast food places have been doing too. They offer all the deals through the apps now. And it's just to collect more data on you.
Yeah.
So they're selling off your data.
Yeah.
In exchange to save 50 cents on a cheeseburger or something like that.
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of them plug it in the drive-through. Like I've had it happen where I go through and it's like, will you be using the app today? It's like an automated message. And I'm always like, no.
It's kind of crazy. I wonder if people ask to price match because it's kind of like how, this has happened to me before at pet stores because I give Jasper this one specific type of flea medication. And for some reason, for the longest time, it was always a different price on the store's website than it was in the actual store. But like, I'm talking like $40 cheaper online, which is dumb. So I asked them one day, I said, hey, do you guys price match with yourselves online? And they're like, yeah. And so then for the longest, I was just showing them that. But I mean, like, you would think that they would have to charge the same amount, right? Because it's the same store. So if somebody calls them out on it, I'm sure they have to give them the same deal in the drive-through.
I don't think they do price match. They just say app only deal. That's just how they.
Yeah, it must be in the fine print, but that's crazy.
I mean, I get it. I get what they're doing. But listeners, as soon as you sign up for these apps, and you have to do it, just turn off the notifications immediately and unsubscribe from the mailing list immediately. Because I've signed up for those food store apps. Every day they're sending a new email. I don't care that apples are 10 cents off today. Leave me alone. But I'm somebody who's very good about unsubscribing from emails. I like a clean inbox.
Yeah, that tracks.
The winner in all these price hikes recently, Walmart. Back in May, Walmart said that sales at stores open at least a year increased 3.8% during its latest quarter from the same time last year. The company raised its sales and profit guidance for the year, a sign it expects growth to continue. Grocers account for more than half of Walmart's sales, and Walmart has benefited from its pricing advantage with prices around 25% lower than traditional supermarkets, according to analysts at Evercore IRI. So if you're looking to immediately save money at the food store, take a look at Walmart.
I can kind of vouch for that because we were having a barbecue for my grandpa's birthday over the weekend, and we forgot to pick up onions. Grilled onions are very important when you're barbecuing. So I went to the closest grocery store, which was, to me, it is a Walmart neighborhood market. And the bag of onions was like $2. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, I've been paying double this at least at any other store. And you could pick your color, and it was all the same price. White onions, yellow onions, red onions. It was great.
Wow. Yeah. And it sucks because, I mean, listen, I
feel bad, but
yeah, no. And the thing is, I don't think individual consumers should feel bad because you go where you can afford to buy things, and that's not a statement on you as a person. I mean, still to this day, if there's something that I need quick, I'll go to Walmart. Like, I don't see the point in shaming people about that. Who does need to be shamed about that is fucking Walmart. Because the reason they're able to offer all of this shit so cheap is because they underpay their people. They don't offer any health coverage. So many employees at Walmart and their families are on public assistance because Walmart pays them so poorly. So Walmart is basically depending on the national social safety net to subsidize them being able to offer low prices. So they're the ones I have the issues with, not people who shop there.
Yeah.
Like, the people are just trying to live.
Yeah. Brock in the Discord is saying, I price compared all the exact same ingredients for a recipe on the Target app versus Walmart app, and it was $27 at Target and $18 at Walmart.
That's
$10 difference is insane.
That's a great recommendation. That's one good thing about the apps. At least it's easy to price compare.
Right?
It'd suck to have to go into different stores and try to add up and notice all the differences. I need to also just get better at keeping track of price increases. I try to keep track of things in my head, but then I just start second guessing myself when I think I've seen a price change, like at Costco.
And that's how they get you for things that you don't normally get often, too, for sure. Because they don't want you to notice that it's gone up 25 cents or, even 10 cents.
I just need to start logging everything in like the Apple Notes app. Yeah. Just for fun, too. I don't know. It's interesting to see when prices come up and down.
I only really keep track of things if I find something that is like a surprisingly good deal that is also really good. Because I feel like it's pretty rare to find something that's like, oh, I really like this, and it's also really cheap. So one of the things that sticks out to me, because we were talking about Aldi a few minutes ago, is Aldi sells packs of 3 tuna steaks for $6. And they are so good. We learned about this because of Mark's mom. She like got them and she gave us some, and holy shit, they are amazingly good. And like, I feel like at first I would probably be a little bit nervous because of the price for seafood, especially 3 tuna steaks, but they were really, really good. So that's a rec for anyone who eats fish. And what I like about it is the consistency of it really is like a steak. Like it's nice and hearty. It would be funny if it actually was beef and they were like, yeah, it's steak, tuna steak. So I noticed stuff like that.
Just to wrap up this discussion, there's also this new study. Nearly 80% of Americans now consider fast food a luxury due to the high prices. I mentioned the stat about fast food prices outpacing inflation in recent years. Half of those polled said they view fast food as a luxury because they're struggling financially. I'm not sure I don't eat enough fast food, I think, to consider it a luxury. I consider it a caloric luxury. I'm like, ooh, it's time to, and setting aside Subway, like if I'm going to Chick-fil-A or In-N-Out, I'm like, ooh, this is what I live for, as I spoke about 20 minutes ago. It's time to enjoy life.
I don't think about it as a luxury, but I would think about it as a treat insofar as it's like, oh, it's scratching that itch for junk food, but I also don't have to cook anything. So it's like a treat because it's good. I don't have it super often, but then I can just take it home and throw the trash away and not have to deal with cleaning anything up after.
And that's huge for families.
Yeah.
They don't have to cook for their kids.
But it's funny because there really has, I mean, in this country, the norm used to be that fast food was so much cheaper than healthy food, and that was one of the big problems driving a lot of health issues in this country, was that people who, were either poor or just didn't have time to deal with cooking healthy food could get fast food pretty cheap. And if that's all you eat, it's bad for you. But now we're finding ourselves in an economic situation where fast food like almost rivals the costs for other kinds of food.
Yeah.
So it's just weird how it's developed.
So that's one good thing about the price increases.
Yeah, but
people
thing
still
is
need to
like
eat,
then
though.
you have to think about like people in food deserts too and stuff like that. Like sometimes fast food is the easiest option, the closest option for a hot meal. So it's tough.
You're right. And I guess we've spoken about food deserts with dollar store dinners.
Yes.
On TikTok. And she was talking a lot about the fact that Dollar General, Dollar Tree, etc., are in a lot of food deserts. And I can't remember if we discussed this part, but the quality of the food is often lower, or there's smaller portions, but at least it's an alternative to fast food in food deserts. Hopefully this is good news for Biden in November, and hopefully this trend sticks. We're going to take a break so we can continue affording our Costco bills, and we'll be right back.
So related to this, I wanted to talk about this story that I saw circulating about maybe a week or two ago. According to CNN, some employees at TJ Maxx, Marshalls, and Home Goods are now wearing body cams. And this is a move by corporate to crack down on retail crime and violence against workers. So to give you all a little bit of a rundown of what was said in this article, a spokesperson for the parent company, TJX, said that associates wearing cams will go through training on how to use them them effectively, and that footage will only be shared upon request from law enforcement or in response to a subpoena. But they did not share specifically how many stores across the country will have employees wearing body cams. I just thought that this was interesting because I think a lot of these larger big box stores, especially some of them that we've touched on in the discussion of prices getting slashed now, have been pointing to an influx of shoplifting as a reason why their profits have been lowered. And I wanted to ask you all if you really think that, this is a reason why, or if it is just because, we can't afford shit because of inflation. Like, is crime on the rise? Is it both? Is this going to make a difference?
I mean, statistically, crime's lower than it's ever been.
But I guess maybe with the increases in cost of living, people might feel a little more emboldened to shoplift. So maybe they are doing it for that reason. This is completely anecdotal, but one time I was walking into a Home Goods when somebody was just walking out with stuff they didn't even pay for in the Home Goods. And maybe that's the type of behavior that they're trying to crack down on. And are those types of things even reported to police, I wonder? So that type of thing might not show up in the data, like that crime data reported by the FBI recently. We do also see, and I know the coverage is probably inflated because of how the media is these days, but you do see people just basically walking out of stores with things that they didn't pay for. I know my local food store recently added those like barriers when you walk in to try and thwart people from running out of a door they shouldn't.
Oh,
ooh, interesting.
That's what those are. I was at Kroger the other day and they had those and I was like, what the fuck is this?
And when you're a man, they suck because they're right at the level of your balls. So when I'm walking in the Smiths, I create a cup with my hands to let the hands open up the gate. So I'm not in pain doing my food shopping.
Right at nut level.
Right at nut level.
To that point, the other day I was at Target and I thought I had set off the detector because it started beeping when I went through. And I turned around to talk to the security guard and be like, do you want to check my bag or something? And the guy was on his phone. So, like, what's the point of the security guards?
So, listen.
Who stops when it beeps anyway? Like, good on you, Pam.
Well,
You're
the lady behind me was like, just keep going, just keep going. And then I thought to myself, like, she's probably stealing stuff.
Yeah,
and she set it off. Because she was, like, right on my ass when I turned around.
She was trying to tailgate you for
I think
sure.
She was. Yeah.
That's hilarious. That's a great strategy.
Just like, he didn't pay attention. I was like, I don't have time to wait for you to get off your phone, man. Like, oh, God.
Well, and so here's my other thing. Like, whether we're talking about body cams or just general asset protection, as it tends to be called in these stores, which is like crazy. You're referring to like a 30-cent piece of plastic from Beijing as an asset, but okay.
Oh, I thought you were talking about me protecting my nuts when I walk in. The asset protection.
Well, yeah, that's relevant.
That's important.
That's an actual, that is an asset. You only get one pair of those. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's like when you have employees, I just looked it up. The average TJ Maxx starting pay for my area is like $8 an hour, according to Indeed. Why the fuck? If I'm a TJ Maxx employee making $8 an hour, why the fuck do I care about appropriately using a body cam to stop people from stealing?
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
and that's why, like, in the past, I'm sure you know this too, Laura, they used to actually actively train you not to do anything. If you saw somebody stealing, don't confront them, don't chase them, don't just let them go.
Well, because it's dangerous for you to be confronting someone who's stealing. And ultimately, that's a way bigger liability to the company than the theft.
The closest Apple store to me, Apple Summerlin, west side of Vegas, they had 2 thefts in the same day. At least one of them is on video. The employees don't do anything, as they should. But the kicker was it happened later in the day again. And who was at this Apple store in the middle of these two thefts? Tim Cook. He was visiting the store that day.
Oh my God.
He was in town for the Super Bowl, and he visits Apple Summerlin. His store is getting robbed at both ends of the day. I was like, are you
Oh
kidding
my
me?
gosh.
They can't lock these stores down when the CEO Tim Cook is coming in for a meet and greet.
It's an inside job.
Oh, yeah. Tim needs a free laptop. He can't
Right.
get it anywhere else but
I
Apple
mean,
Summerlin.
you're joking, but there is also the National Resale Federation has also put together information about the fact that a lot of like theft and loss prevention is an insight. It's not these like crime rings that the media would make you believe. Like a lot of it is coming from inside the house. So
There are probably a million stories I could bring up from my days of working at Target, and we don't have time for that. But definitely, I saw more than one case of someone who I worked at Target with being fired because they were substantially stealing. So,
but you did have one anecdote from your Target days that you wanted to share with us, right?
yeah. So it's just about the sob stories that these big box stores will tell you about the hoops they have to jump through to try and, prevent losses for themselves. So what do you think happens? Discord, you can chime in too. Y'all chime in. What do you think happens when you go to a store and return something that is in good condition? You just didn't want it anymore. Maybe it's got a little bit of damage on it. Maybe you dropped it and it's dented now, but you still return it anyway. What do you think happens?
I assume they toss it.
Yeah, if there's a little bit of damage, I would assume the same or send it somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't to be refurbished or something.
Well, at least when I worked at Target, for my particular Target, that stuff did go somewhere, and it was Big Lots. So Target would sell that shit to Big Lots so that they could sell it cheap. So at the end of the day, I promise you, these box stores are still making their money off even damaged goods that they're getting returned to them. So don't feel too bad for them when they start whining and moaning about how their profit margins are being cut into because of increased shoplifting. Because at the end of the day, too, you have to remember retailers are buying the shit that they are selling to you for pennies on the dollar of what they're actually charging you. They're getting this shit and they're marking it up 200, 300% sometimes. So them losing their investment is not them losing the $18 or whatever that they want to charge you for a shirt, which is crazy that we're even at a point where that's a thing that happens. They didn't actually pay that much for it to begin with. They probably paid maybe $1. So Don't feel bad for them is what I want to drive home at the end of the day. They're fine.
And also I recommended nellisauction.com. It's only in select cities right now, but that's the same thing. They take in a lot of returns from Amazon and I assume elsewhere. A lot of it's in great condition though. And I'm sure they're buying it for pennies on the dollar and then they're reselling it and making a nice little profit off of it.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of the current state of affairs, I wanted to turn to a few quick newsy hits here. It's going to be a heavy election and politics year, so we try not to do it too much. But just to give y'all kind of a quick and dirty news rundown, we can talk about Hunter Biden. He was last week convicted on three felonies. And what I find so interesting about this is how close it happened to when Trump was convicted of his 34 felony counts. And the fact that nobody can sit here and say that Joe Biden is questioning the legal system or that he's claiming things are rigged, because it's literally his own Justice Department convicting his son of 3 felonies, and he still put out a statement saying that he trusts and supports the legal process. Trump supporters can't do it. The ones who are still with him anyway. I think a lot of people have migrated away from that, but the ones who won't let go, they cannot accept that, you know, their dear leader could have possibly done anything wrong. It just all has to be rigged against him. Like, he's really just inspired the mentality of the kid who gets pissed when he's losing at his PlayStation game and then just like yanks the plug out of the wall and is like, no, I don't want to do this anymore.
I do love the timing of this because it helps us perfectly illustrate the differences between the left and right and the hypocrisy on the right. And I'm glad he was convicted. Yeah. Good. He did violate the law. Hunter Biden, he's a troubled person. I feel bad for him. He's had a tough life. He's had some devils that I think a lot of people know are very hard to overcome. And he deserved to be convicted. I have no problem admitting that. Also, he's not running for president. I love that he is also, he's gotten in trouble for gun-related charges because the right typically would hate this type of thing. Somebody being convicted for possessing a firearm and lying on the paperwork. I mean, they want gun freedom.
I think I told y'all or shared with y'all a tweet that I saw that was like, Democrats need to jump on the moment and try to pass universal background checks, call it Hunter's Law, and force Republicans to vote against it.
But
yeah,
that'd be the hardest thing they've ever done.
Yeah, but it's just so funny because, I mean, with everything that's happened with Trump, and I mean, anything that's happened with January 6th, I won't say protesters, the actual insurrectionists, people want to claim that Democrats are weaponizing the Justice Department to serve political ends. And meanwhile, we're all sitting here looking at Bob Menendez of New Jersey and Henry Cuellar of Texas, who've both had their own separate convictions by this Justice Department. Bob Menendez, who, by the way, is apparently seeking an independent re-election bid because he's, you know, a moron.
Well, and this is just like the Hunter example. We can say, as Democrats, Bob Menendez bad. He did bad things.
Yeah.
He sucks. He shouldn't be in office. Is this that hard, Republicans? Trump bad. He did bad things. He dumb. He shouldn't be in office. Just find other people. Other people will come up.
Yeah. Well, and I think the thing is, a lot of Republicans do think that, especially, I would say, traditional conservatives do think that. But
Mr. Romney.
Yeah. But even him, it took him a long time to come around. So, like, I'm with him now, but I definitely still don't totally trust his judgment. Like, if I were stranded on a desert island with him, I would definitely be side-eyeing a little bit because I'd be like, you like went and kissed the ring for sure after that guy got elected. So I don't trust you.
Maybe they all need to go through that rite of passage before they see the light.
Vomit. I guess it's a canon event for Republicans. They just all have to. Well, speaking of people we don't trust, let's turn to the Supreme Court. And actually, in what I found to be surprising, mifepristone, which is the drug that is used to administer about half of all medical abortions in this country, is safe for now. And I think what surprised me about this was a unanimous ruling out of the court. And at first, I definitely thought Clarence Thomas just must not have showed up to work today because I found it impossible that he would have been with the majority on that. Kavanaugh even wrote the opinion on it. But I think it's really important to note that for now is a really big thing to keep in mind, because this case was not decided on the merits of the case. It was decided on the standing that was presented in the case. So it had nothing to do, the decision had nothing to do with whether or not this is a good drug for people to be able to access, or that it's right that the FDA legalized it back in 2002. It was really just like a very narrow interpretation of the legal standing of the case that was brought to the circuit court before it got to the Supreme Court. So all it's going to take is for a case to reach the court that they will evaluate on the basis of its merits for this to be a different conversation. So it's just something we have to keep an eye on. Nothing we can do anything about for now except vote. But I would just say let's not rest on our laurels. But Andrew, I think you added this. What else did the Supreme Court do?
Yeah, this was the story of the year, in my opinion. The U.S. Supreme Court barred the Trump Too Small trademark. This is WTF News category for sure. It was a federal trademark for the phrase Trump Too Small. They were rejecting a California lawyer's claim that the trademark denial violated his constitutional free speech rights. The justices unanimously overturned a lower court's decision that the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office's rejection of Steve Elster's application to register the trademark to exclusively use it on T-shirts violated the U.S. Constitution's First Amendment. So, in other words, I'm no legal scholar, but I believe this means anybody can print the phrase Trump Too Small on a T-shirt now.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like that's big for our country.
Yeah, I mean, basically, they're not saying you can't do that. They're just saying you can't trademark it and prevent other people from doing it.
Right. We here at Millennial have the right to create a new T-shirt that says Trump Too Small.
Hey, maybe we should do that.
Just in time.
Just in time. We're looking for a gift idea. Yep, that was the WTF News edition of the Supreme Court update.
Well, and for one final thing here, before we take a break to try and get a little bit of a palate cleanse, maybe, I think it's really important for us to acknowledge some historical parallels that are going on right now. Europe just had its parliamentary elections across the continent, and Europe in that most recent round of elections has definitely lurched to the right. And I just want to point out that last time Trump was running for president, Brexit happened almost exactly around the same time. Brexit happened in the summer, and we just saw a number of not just right-wing, but right-wing extremist victories in Europe in those parliamentary elections. So it was to the point where President Macron in France literally dissolved the French parliament and called for a snap election because his party did so poorly against Marine Le Pen's right-wing extremist anti-immigrant party. So she really cleaned his party's clock. And apparently this is a thing they can do in France, is be like, nope, we need to do another one. So that's happening sometime in the next month. Also, the far-right Alternative for Germany party came in second place. And what's most concerning to me is they made great strides with young voters. And again, these are particularly around issues of the economy and issues of immigration. And that's really disturbing. History repeating itself in Germany.
Basically what we're looking at here too.
Yes, exactly. There are so many parallels to what we experienced globally in 2016 and what we're experiencing now. I think it's actually worse now than it was then. And the other thing that I just want to keep in mind is that most centrist European politicians are moving to the right on immigration policies so that they can keep up and, you know, maintain attractability amongst the voting bloc. So I think the parallels to 2016 are pretty staggering. I'm just pleading with everyone. If you are thinking about sitting this one out, if you're thinking that your vote doesn't matter, it really does. Because look at how close it was last time. It literally came down to a few thousand votes in the Midwest that really ended up deciding this election. So it's going to be really important to pay attention to what's happening this time around and noticing the similarities with what was happening globally last time.
Yeah, the cyclical nature is disturbing, but these are great warning signs to be aware of so we don't get too comfortable no matter what polls might say.
Yep. Time is a flat circle.
My favorite quote from True Detective.
All right. Well, I think I'm going to need a little bit of a palate cleanse here. Hopefully, we're not going to talk about Trump anymore after this. I think we'll all feel a lot better about that. See you when we get back.
I hope the commercials for some people are like a really depressing topic. So we wanted to preview the first presidential debate.
Oh, damn it.
Laura was like, we got good news to look forward to. The first presidential debate is happening between Biden and Trump on Thursday, June 27th. This debate is actually being handled differently because it's not being run by the Bipartisan Commission on Presidential Debates. And because of this, there's some new rules, and they have already been agreed to by the candidates. First of all, 2 commercial breaks. Yeah, baby, we'll hear from corporate America in the middle of this debate, and I'm sure they'll be pandering and talking about how we need unity. So that'll be wonderful and cringeworthy. During these commercial breaks, though, campaign staff may not interact with their candidate during the breaks. So I assume these commercials are just so that Biden and Trump can take bathroom, sitting, and drug breaks. And there also will be no opening statements. There will be 2-minute closing statements, however. And this next one's really big. They're going to be muting the mics, y'all.
Wow.
Microphones will be muted throughout the proceedings, except when it is the candidate's turn to speak. So we hopefully will not be hearing any crosstalk if they manage this appropriately. And this is a measure aimed at curtailing interruptions that have marred previous debates. We remember that moment between Biden and Trump a few years ago when Biden said, "Will you shut up, man?"
I know.
that ended up working out in his favor, but it doesn't always. And it's just difficult for people at home to follow the conversation when they're yelling at each other like they're on an episode of The View.
To that point, the whole point of the debate is so that you can hear people's platforms and their responses to questions, so it's important, even if it is kind of a bit of a shit show.
It'll hopefully be a much better debate thanks to this. There also will be no live audience. And that's pretty significant because the candidates will not be able to play to their respective bases, and they can't have teams on the audience hooting and hollering when they say good or bad things. So some nice changes. Yeah. I don't know why the hell these didn't happen sooner with the bipartisan commission on presidential debates.
I mean, they wanted the ratings too, I'm sure, because I do wonder what this is going to do to the ratings and sort of like the longevity of people paying attention, because a lot of times people treat stuff like this like a sporting event. I mean, I know I get hyped up before a debate and I'll be sitting there like, fuck yeah. when we get like a really good zinger.
These colors don't run.
Right. And I just wonder what it does to the level of engagement if there's nobody like fanning the flames in the room. Like trying to imagine Trump partaking in something like this with no audience to feed off of is I don't even know what to expect, because I don't know that we've ever seen him like that unless it's in like taped statements or any of his taped police interviews where he's like extremely subdued because he doesn't have a crowd chanting for him and sort of like cheering at every little goddamn stupid thing he does.
Yeah.
So I just wonder if he does show up, are we going to get a way more subdued version of him?
Do you guys remember that time Trump showed up to a debate with COVID?
Yeah.
He was totally trying to give Biden COVID.
Yeah. I mean, he also ditched out of one of the debates, right? There were only 2. Normally there are 3.
But with Biden, right? Because he also ditched out on the primary.
Yes. He didn't come to any of the primary debates.
They don't have to. In their defense, they don't have to. They were leading. They had nothing to worry about. Laura was wondering last week off air if Trump is going to show up to this debate. He has to. I mean, they already agreed to this. He has to face the president who he just lost to. Now, they have already agreed to another debate I think maybe it's more likely Trump could drop out if, let's say, he's really upset with his performance. If he goes, Jake Tapper and Dana Bash on CNN were so unfair to me during the first debate that I'm not going to show up to this next one. So I can see him pulling that kind of stunt, but I don't think he's bailing out of this one next Thursday.
They're definitely going to ask him about his upcoming sentencing because that's happening on July 11th.
I will pop a freedom boner if Biden calls Trump to his face a convicted felon. I am praying for that. Right? That has to happen, right?
Yeah.
He's going to be shitting all over what happened in court.
Oh, for sure. If they don't play to that. But I think they also need to be careful about the way they walk that line as well. Because, I mean, political debates, it's always so much more about optics than anything else. So, like, unfortunately, a lot of what you say and what you promise during a debate doesn't really matter. It's more about how you say it and how you come across. My hope is that the Biden team has him prepared.
And I would think that if he called Trump a convicted criminal, that it would open up the opportunity for Trump to remind everybody about Hunter. And while Hunter's not running for president, that kind of thing plays well with Trump's base. So
yeah.
I still hope Biden does it.
I like what Riley is suggesting in our Discord. Call him Lil Felon instead of Lil Fella.
Any other predictions or comments about the debate?
I think he'll have a new nickname. Like, I think Trump will show up with a new set of nicknames to throw at people.
So Sleepy Joe is out.
Yeah, I think Sleepy Joe will be out because he's trying to be flashy and new.
How long do you think before he derails the debate? Because I have a feeling he'll start off pretty subdued and go with whatever media training they're giving him to prep with. But I don't give him long before he goes off the rails.
No, I hate to say it. I think what it might be is I think he'll be looking out for a moment of weakness with Biden. And unfortunately, the thing he's going to be zeroing in on is the stutter. And I mean, we all know that Biden has done, I think, a lot of, say whatever you want about the guy, but I think he's done a lot of phenomenal work on himself, sort of like managing his stutter. But it does come out sometimes when he's under stress, which is completely normal. But Trump is such a huge fucking jackass that he would lean in to trying to exploit that. But I'm also sure that it ain't Joe's first rodeo with that kind of thing. So he probably has strategies for how to handle it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how he does. He's performed very well in some critical televised moments, thinking also of like things like the State of the Union. So I'm sure they will both be drugged up enough to really bring us a lot of energy during these debates. And sure, the mics might be muted and without the audience, things might be a little less exciting. It's bad we even want that, but it does keep people engaged. I'm sure we're still going to hear Trump off mic going wrong, just in the distance. And Trump will probably still do that even with the mics muted because he knows it could potentially throw off Biden because Biden will still be able to hear him loud and clear. He's right in the same room.
That's a good point.
All right. Well, what is coming up in After Dark this week, Pam?
So kind of in relation to last week's After Dark, where we talked about how millennials aren't the young generation anymore, I found this tweet that was asking people to reply with what the most boomer complaint they have is. And so I thought, since we're not the young bucks anymore on the block, we could weigh in as old millennials and talk about our get off our lawn opinions.
What are we complaining about? Yes, so much to complain about.
And we haven't told each other what we've brought to the table, so that should be pretty fun. We're keeping it a surprise.
I can't wait. I really hope that we have some things in common.
I think we will.
Yeah, hopefully we do. And hopefully neither of you are shocked by my contributions.
Probably not. You're grumpy. But I think Pam, I'm going to say something that's going to upset Pam for sure.
Oh. Oh, really?
I think so.
Okay.
All right. Well, After Dark is part of Mega Millennial, which you get every week when you're a patron or Apple Podcast subscriber. Plus, it's ad-free. Visit patreon.com/millennial to pledge today. Spotify users will find a banner at the top of our show page, or Apple Podcast users can tap into the show and subscribe.
And we also have other Patreon benefits like live stream access, our monthly Zoom hangouts, a new physical gift every year. And we are finalizing this year's gift. It's going to be a good one. We were discussing plans a week or two ago, and we were really excited with how things are turning out. So stay tuned for that. That'll be available for Bay patrons and higher. And whether you're supporting us on Apple Podcasts or Patreon, it's very easy to get started, because both offer a 7-day free trial and there is an annual subscription discount for committing to a year up front. Time for some recommendations. Wow. Inside Out 2 was expected to make 80 to 90 million in the US. It blew past those expectations. It became the top animated film of all time for an opening weekend. It made 155 million, I believe it was, in the US. So like nearly double what it was projected to make. I think this says a lot about how desperate people are for a therapeutic hug from Pixar. Everybody knows that first Inside Out rocked us. We all expected the sequel to do the same. And I think that's something they couldn't measure in advance. So that's why expectations were very much exceeded at the box office. Inside Out 2 was so good. It was so good. It got me a couple times. I welled up a couple times. It brings in the emotion of anxiety and a few others. And I'm sure that can resonate with a lot of people. Pam, you saw it and wanted to recommend it too, right?
Yeah, I saw it on Friday night with my friend Yuki, and we both basically we were like, let's go see this together, because we're at a point in our relationship where we can just like cry and not talk about it after.
But talking about it is good.
No, we do talk about it. We're just not going to be like, it's not going to be like a thing, you know?
Right.
It's not going to be like, are you okay? You cry, you know, you want to go with the right person when you know you're going to see something that's going to make you well up. And I honestly, there was a point there where I thought, you know what? I'm good. Like, if I haven't cried yet, I'm not going to cry. And then they got me in the last, like, I don't know, 20 minutes, maybe 15, 20 minutes.
Okay.
They got me good. Yeah. And I agree. It was really, really well done. The animation also so beautiful. I continue to be blown away by how much advancements are made over at Pixar in terms of the quality of the animation, just like the texture of the clothing and like the hair and the skin.
Anger seemed more detailed, almost like there was fire coming off of him, not just the top of his head.
Yeah, it was just absolutely beautiful. I didn't even see it like on a fancy screen. It was just
Me neither.
Stunning.
I have to check it out.
It's stunning how well Pixar can convey emotions and turn them into these characters.
Yeah.
There's so much symbolism. Like it's really amazing what they've done with both Inside Out movies.
Yeah, and just the way that they're able to explain that, you know, all these emotions are so complex. You mentioned that they're bringing in the character of anxiety this time around. Anxiety plays a big role, and I think that is like something that a lot of people struggle with. It can be very hard to explain that to people that know you, you know. And I think that this movie does it in such a beautiful way. And I've seen anxiety portrayed on screen before, but not like the intricacies of why you can't just like fix something like that overnight.
Also, the movie's only 90 minutes long, baby. I was
That's
like,
really nice.
It's over already? This is great news.
You didn't have to take a pee break.
No.
Or did
I'm trying
you?
to think if I actually did. No, I didn't. I didn't.
I also want to let you know that I went to see this at 7:00 on a Friday.
Whoa.
Which is, yeah, I know. Big news for me. And my theater was...
But only because you knew it was 90 minutes.
It's because I went with a friend. But the theater was packed, like wall to wall. I don't know about your showing, but mine was like completely sold out.
Sunday, 12:30 p.m., packed. The concessions line, I had never seen it so full, and they had like 8 registers open. They were moving that line fast, but that line was long. I don't remember the last time I saw a long concession line at the movie theater, and all the registers staffed. It felt like 1992 or something.
Well, my recommendation is related to today's discussion around groceries and the prices there. So, you know, when you go to the store to buy your herbs and spices, you know, those tiny little jars cost so much money for such a small amount. I highly recommend looking at buying spices at your local farmers market. Farmers markets will often have larger quantities of spices for a cheaper price. So, for example, anytime I need to restock on things, I'll go to our local farmers market and they literally sell tubs, like little plastic flat tubs that are way bigger than what you can get at the grocery store for like half the price of what you would pay for a jar at the grocery store. So it's definitely worth looking into to save a few bucks and support, you know, your local farmers market, but also get fresh spices in greater quantities.
All right, pals, thank you for listening. And it's time to give you all a few reminders. Make sure you're following the show in your favorite podcast app so you never miss an episode. And we'd appreciate a review in Apple Podcasts or Spotify.
To stay in touch with us, email millennialshow@gmail.com or visit millennialshow.com. While you're there, you'll also find links to where you can follow us on social media, and Spotify users can also leave feedback directly within the episode.
After Dark starts in a moment for patrons and Apple Podcast subscribers. Thanks, everybody, for listening. I'm Andrew.
I'm Laura.
And I'm Pamela.
Happy Juneteenth.
And happy Juneteenth.
Ah, yes. Important.